We would like to apologize profusely for missing all of last week, but we kind of had a little thing. There was vacation, we traveled, we had wild and fun adventures, and I got to dress up as Kamen Rider Kiva. When I miss a week, I have my reasons. Besides, I got something special for my little brother's birthday. A Hairier Problem, Rise of the Furball by Blue Bastard, Chapter 10. Achieving an Understanding. As Applejack stood on the platform, the three Crusaders jumping up and down all around her with excitement on their faces. She mused it had been exactly like this over a year ago when Babs Seed first came to Ponyville to visit. It had been a rough experience once the real story of what had been going on for those few weeks finally got revealed. But in the end, it had all worked out. Babs had since come to visit a few times since then, but now she was moving in semi-permanently. And if you ask Reality Check, Applejack was a dumbass for not being able to see that she was getting bullied in her own house. To which I say, Reality Check, 1, use the bitch. And 2, I bet if things happen at your house, you see everything, you old fart.
Applejack,
asked Lee.
why is Babs going to stay at the farm for so long this time? I don't think Miss Charlie is going to approve of her just popping in for schooling, but I'm sure she's not exempt from.
Bring a Big Mac. I've already talked it over with your teacher, actually, so Babs will be in your class, answered the mayor. That's why Babs is staying so long. I also don't recall getting an answer to that myself. The attention of those on the platform was suddenly drawn to the shrill cry of a steam whistle, signaling the arrival of the Manhattan Mustang. The first of what the Royal Equestrian Railway Company proponent as a new steamliner train. The engine was equipped with external plating that made it look perfectly smooth on the outside and of a completely different world at the same time. It was also much larger, as if two regular engines had been welded back together, back to form, and there's a light wheel base for powered wheels in the front and back. Nicknamed Grainbriers, these state-of-the-art locomotives have not been designed for service off of main lines, but due to Ponyville's importance as the home of the princesses, the ERC had no choice but to upgrade the line to the backwater settlement. I would make a comment about how fast this happened, but I'm a fan of Naruto, and considering the fact that Boruto had only about 12 to 20 years in between series, and they became very futuristic, I can see it. But as he gets to slow to a stop, just beyond the edge, the opposite end, the Crusaders didn't pay it in much mind. Instead, their focus was on the passenger cars that had drawn up on the platform. Unlike last time, however, they knew the appearance of the pony they were there to meet. Indeed, a few minutes after the train's arrival, a brown-coated filly who was slightly bigger than the average pony her age jumped down for the third coat. Her hot pink mane and tail, along with her great eyes, certainly made her stand out among the crowd. But it was the red cape she had tied around her neck, with a shiny gold reverse side that confirmed her identity. Babs Seed had returned to Ponyville.
Bams!
Shouted Apple Bloom, rushing out to tackle her slightly older cousin a big hug. Hey, cuz! Greeted back to the new arrival, taking the hug with a slight grunt as the impact from Apple Bloom forced some air out of Babs' chest. She didn't remember Apple Bloom being that strong the last time. Then again, she hadn't seen her for months, so perhaps it was just faulty memory. Did you have a good trip? Inquired Applejack, slowly drawing over while Scoot and Sweet rushed out to join the fire.
Uh-huh. This here steamliner is amazing. The seats are so much cozier. The sleeper car has bunks of its own little rooms, and there's even a snack bar at one end of the diner car.
Sounds like Auntie and Uncle Lawrence spoiling around with this trip. Smile on Baz's face fell a little.
Yeah, but they do that all the time, since they're part of the Mayhem upperclass and all. Should probably to try and make up for the fact they don't really spend time with me, and they have to miss what their social offense are always at.
She drew her head up a bit and made her jaw shut out as far as possible.
And when they had to drag me to one of those events, I had to talk with proper pronunciation like so, and behave like all those other real-new fillies and goats, who think we're all better than the common pony.
Her accent changed considerably. Sounded nothing like the bounce CMC or AT had known, but instead the not perfect pronunciation as if she was trying to sound healthier than the majority of Camperlot.
Well, I do declare to be the matter I most heartily agree.
replied Applejack in her own upper-class accent. However, while she could still do the accent she mastered in a few days before she realized her place was back on the farm and heard the cutie mark, she hadn't used it in years, and the sudden change in voice pitch was not received by her larynx, sending her a brief coughing fit.
Applejack, are you okay?
Asked Sleepy Belle. Yeah, fine, wheezed Applejack, proceeding to take a deep breath and shake the cough off. Molly, no face to your folks, Babs. They're still applicant. But trying to talk all that nearly killed me back when I was a little filly, and it clearly hasn't gotten much easier. Now thought that occurred to AJ, as it was he was sounding as he had tried her upper-class accent, while also having the raspier voice he had back when he was a werewolf. So he concluded probably would have sounded weird and given her a coughing fit all the same. But it wasn't worth to go back to being a werewolf, even if there was some way to becoming one again. She probably missed the apple bloom later and to get a good laugh out of it. But it best not to reveal she was an ex-lycanthrope to the rest of the CMC, even though their antics had indirectly led to that whole ordeal in the first place.
So, why are you staying so long this time?
Inquired Scootaloo.
There was some big charity auction or something they had gone to a few months back, when he won the grand prize of some super long, all-expenses-paid cruise. There were only 2 tickets, and even though they never asked if I wanted to go, I probably wouldn't have wanted to anyway, since I totally died from boredom. So, they decided to send me back here since I could have so much fun with you guys,
replied Bass, cheered back up.
What about your sister?
Asked Applebloom.
Will you stay with her? Dancer and Tut? No. She's appreciated to Gustav Legrand as a pastry chef at Cantonat, and is living in an apartment she's sharing with some of her friends. I just get in the way.
Well, we got plenty of room for you back on the farm, Babs, said Applejack. You don't need to worry about sharing the same bed as Applebloom either, as we cleared out spare room for you to use all to yourself. In truth, the spare room was actually Granny Smith's old bedroom, which had recently been used as the master bedroom. The actual master bedroom has been used as storage due to the whole family not being able to spend long periods of time in it, following the deaths of Pear Butter and Bright Mac. But upon having received closure on the matter of the Apple parents, Granny had cleaned it up so it could be a proper master bedroom again. An old bedroom turned into a guest room.
I probably some nice if we don't have any extra bed for you though, so I hope you don't mind handmade trays of newspaper blankets.
Teased Applebloom.
That's okay. I'll just sleep in my luggage,
replied Basil with a grin, before taking a apologetic look.
Mom and Dad decided to send me with you everything I possibly need, so it's more than just a suitcase this time. I guess that way one like the truck,
replied Applebloom, casting smug glances at Applejack and merely just rolled her eyes.
Need to what?
Asked Babs, raising an eyebrow confusing what a truck was. Yell, Sly. Just get your stuff off the trade before it departs for Caroline. Drop your stuff at your sister's place.
No, we don't get to do
Babs Seeds much on this show. I'm kind of disappointed. At the same time, a very nervous unicorn trying to play just outside of Golden Oaks Library. She already knocked at the door, exactly at 5:15, as instructed by the summoning letter. There had been no answer. It was now 5:20, and Raspberry Barrel was getting more and more scared by the minute. She might have been in trouble for not many of the many reasons she had tried to avoid talking to Twilight in the first place, but in this case, for being late somehow. Heliodor, perched on a low-hanging branch, was facing her, trying his best to calm her down. It was his job to attract attention away from her, which, right now, she wasn't making it easy because she really looked like she needed to use the restroom. Points were starting to look over.
Yes, I know, Healy, but already possibly seriously doing poor shit as it is.
Quietly hissed Raz.
It's 5 minutes past the time I'm supposed to be inside this tree, but the door's locked and nobody's here. But I can't leave in case the princess is so up, and I get in trouble for not obeying a summons.
The conspiratorial grin that appeared at the bird's face only received an angry response from the pony.
You know very well I'm not going to resort to vandalism to get inside. This is literally the second home of the princess. She'd be even angrier if we...
A sudden flurry of activity from Heliodor indicated some point was approaching, and she needed to act calm. Indeed, around the corner came a sight Raspberry Barrel had never in her years of traveling around Equestria. It was a small, purple-green baby dragon, walking upright on 2 legs, while his right claw he was holding a basket of things for the market. The presence of a baby dragon concerned Raz even more now, Since she knew gems were the preferred treat for the reptilian species. If he had a good one look at her cutie mark, he probably asked her for some, or he threatened her with his flame breath, or sharp claws for some. That would certainly put her in one of two equally bad situations. First being Heliodor would probably kick the dragon's ass with his flame breath and sharp talons. Lady Razzie explained why there was a horribly mean and burnt baby dragon on the library's doorstep. Or she did give him some of her gems, which would, well, she never actually given any of her gems to a dragon of any kind. But due to the spell she used to find him, certainly nothing good could come from it.
Oh, hello!
Greeted the dragon upon noticing the two waiting in front of the library.
You must be waiting for Twilight to get back from flying lessons.
Flying lessons? Thusly asked Raz.
Yeah, I know. Twilight's extremely smart and can learn something really fast if she doesn't know it already. But since he wasn't born with wings, it was awkward. Here, I'll let you in. I'm sorry Twilight won't mind.
Thanks, said the crazy unicorn, waiting for Heliodor to take its place on her horn, where he followed the dragon to the tree.
I apologize for not being here to let you in earlier, but
nope. Not gonna say the guy's name. We're cutting it out.
I kinda forgot to recite the phrase before Twilight went off. Hope you guys weren't waiting long, said the dragon from his place in the kitchen.
No. We've only been here for 5 or so minutes, responded Raz, barely having heard the dragon in the other room. Her attention was fixed on the glorious sight that surrounded her as she stood in the center of the tree. Books! Rows and rows upon books! Fantasies, encyclopedias, graphic novels, history books, everything that could be explored through the written word were present within this tree. To most points, it would have been just seeing a typical library, as the only visual different in the layout of any other library in a town similar size to Ponyville, with the Royal Archives of Camelot and the Crystal Empire far exceeding the Golden Oaks, both contained in knowledge and present beauty. But for Raspberry Barrel, they represented a dream which she clung to all her life, even as fate conspired to drive it further from her with every misstep she took. Almost unconsciously, she began to focus her magic to take a book she chose at random. But before her aura could even light up, she felt two familiar bird feet squeeze on her horn much harder than usual for a brief second, sending a spike of pain straight into her cerebrum and instantly stopping her magic flow.
Ow!
Cried Raz.
Healy, what was that?
Heliodor leaned over and glared at the pony attached to his roost, raising an eyebrow, instantly realizing she nearly used her magic, or somebody else could have seen it. She blushed a little at how stupid her mistake might have been.
Oh, right. They should have saved Healy.
Caught happily, having done his job properly once again.
Is everything okay, Mr.
The dragon had come out of the kitchen, probably worried about the brief cry of pain he heard.
Oh, sorry, but Twilight didn't give me your name since you're supposed to be back by now.
Relieved at the chance to take her mind off her goof, Raspberry smiled. I'm Raspberry Barrel, and my companion here is Heliodor.
Well, nice to meet you. I'm Spike, and hey, is your pet a phoenix?
I hope so. That's what Pony has ever been telling me ever since I got back to Ponyville. Came a third voice out of nowhere. The source was soon revealed, however, as Twilight Sparkle appeared at the edge of the second floor above. Instead of the golden horseshoes and regalware, however, she was instead clad but nothing but a sweatband on her head, complimenting in fact she looked somewhat out of breath.
Twilight, where were you? Inquired
her adoptive brother.
I was at my flying lessons with Rainbow, remember? I remember you saying you would be back by 5. It's presently half past at this point. You've been keeping this boy your pet wedding. I presume that are the ones you've been eager to meet?
Spike gestured to the unicorn on the room with the bird on her horn. The former having bowed upon seeing the princess so fast and so hard she unintentionally lost her pet right to the floor, where he now laid sprinkled on foot, so in front of her. Oh my gosh! Gasped Twilight. Easily for all the things in life she could afford to be late for something. This probably wasn't one of them. She ignored the stairs, instead choosing to flutter her way down to the ground floor. Please, you don't need to be so formal in here. Plus, I think your Phoenix needs attention. Huh? Oh no, Healy! Exclaimed Raz as he runs over to Heliodor. Even he wasn't hurt, just a little annoyed having been turned into a missile. Twilight just looked over to see and smiled. So, you're Raspberry Barrel? The address snapped her head and ground quickly, hearing her name. Yes, that's me. She did pale slightly as Twilight chuckled, worrying that she had done something wrong. The princess soon explained. Like I said, you don't need to be formal.
To be honest, if there's one thing I hate about having become an alicorn princess, it's all this ridiculous formality. That's why I'm happy to be back here at Ponyville. Every pony treats me the same as they always did, and that's some kind of untouchable work of art. Rest, however, was still uncertain situation. But the summons I received was written so... So I laughed again. Yeah, sorry about that. Emma Cobbler means well, but when she insisted she write that letter, instead of me just letting Spike do it as I usually do, I didn't have much of a choice. Also, sorry for having to keep you waiting. Do you mind if I take a few minutes to wash up? I'm still kind of sweating and it would be rude of me not to be presentable. Oh no, take your time, really, answered Raspberry. Although, do you mind if I take a look at some of the books here? Twilight had to raise an eyebrow at that question. Sure. You don't need my permission. This is still technically the Ponyville Public Library, after all. I just wanted to be sure, sheepishly grinned Raz. Twilight shook her head, certain the poor pony was still flustered from having to deal with a princess acting so unprincessy, before flying up to the second level to start a bath. Spike already going up the stairs with a small bundle of fresh soap. Raspberry, on the other hand, waited until she could hear the bath water running, before zipping over to the history book section and opening it up. Heliodor, having since recovered from being thrown face first to the floor by accident, flew up to the table to see his mistress was wearing. He honestly didn't understand her fascination with books. They were everywhere, really. But they made her happy, so he pretended to follow along as he read out loud. All right, Tiara, what do you have planned this time? Asked Silver Spoon. So you've been invited to her best friend's house, obviously to continue to plan how to expose Appleblue's true nature. But the fact that Diamond Tiara hadn't even hinted at what the plan was this time was concerning. Okay, promise you won't freak out, said Diamond in a conspiratorial tone, leading Silver into her room before locking the door. We're not going to do anything illegal, are we? No, what makes you think that? Well, I mean, normally you're willing to go to the extremes sometimes. So the fact that you're actually warning me ahead of time about whatever you're doing to suggest doesn't fill me with confidence. At least you feel it's something. Something, commented her voice, followed by the translucent form of a green mirror, strangely resembling what an alternately colored and messier maned Applejack would look like, walking into the room through the wall on the opposite door. Silver instantly recognized the telltale features that marked this newcomer as a werewolf. Along with the fact it was a ghost werewolf, so unprevented from screaming her head off by Tiara quickly tackling her to the ground, muffling her muzzle with the foreleg. Keep it down, hissed Tiara. Cease the subject I need to talk to you about anyway. Are you insane? Snapped back. Are you that obsessed with proving Applebloom is a werewolf? That you've actually raised the spirit of another werewolf to somehow help you with that? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that sort of hypocritical? To be fair, your friend has nothing to do with my reawakening. He doesn't have the magic capability for necromancy since he's an earth pony, chuckled the ghost. Plus, I was the one who approached her a few nights ago about your problems with this Applebloom character. Dorothy let Silver Spoon go, both fillies standing back up. So, yeah, said Tiara. Silver Spoon, this is Fair Fista. Fair Fista, Silver Spoon. A pleasure, really, droned Silver Spoon. But I still don't buy the idea you have to simply walked up for wherever your physical body is buried and happen to come straight to us to provide assistance with this matter. To be honest, I don't honestly know the means by which I have risen from the grave myself, Vista said in a matter-of-fact tone. But I am being honest, and our goals are, for the moment, aligned in regards to the same pony. Diamond spoke up. Believe it or not, Silver, apparently Applejack has been a werewolf for some time, up to around when the Minotaurs were proclaiming one of their own that killed the last werewolf. In reality, it seems Applejack was the true killer, as that werewolf was the one who spread the cure into her, and the only way to cure oneself is to kill the infector. So, Applejack was a werewolf too, feared Silver, trying to understand where all this was leading. Fairfisted nodded. Yes, but she's not one any longer. Although why any pony would want to throw away a gift like this is beyond me. But more importantly, she killed a pony who I loved,
For that, I want revenge. You two are after the youngest of our family, and are impaired by not having an ethereal form which really can't interact with the physical plane. Obviously, I'm very knowledgeable about werewolves, being one myself. I think we should join forces so we can get all that we want. Silver Spoon was still suspicious about the whole affair. First off, the idea her best friend was so willing to accept the help of a werewolf poltergeist was arrived very conveniently when it was needed most to start the great feeling. There was also the problem of how far this mess would end up going. Simply exposing Apple Bloom was enough for either a ghost or the pink filly, the former most likely being perfectly willing to execute any pony she had to, and the latter already demonstrated a severe lack of morality when it came to respecting any pony other than her parents, or Silver Spoon. At the same time, there wasn't any alternative to cooperating with these arrangements. Not because Silver Spoon didn't dare risk her friendship with Diamond Tiara, not because he was the only pony Silver could truly consider a friend, and also because she wasn't convinced the werewolf was totally being honest when she said about not being able to interact with the physical world.
Alright, I guess I'm in.
Fairfisted grinned, exposing her disturbingly sharp teeth. She had no place on a pony.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to you two. This should be fun.
Now, I don't mean to be rude, Babs, but I think you might have packed a little too much, groaned Applejack. It wasn't the largest load of luggage she ever seen. She knew from experience that Rarity practically refused to stay overnight under any normal circumstances without bringing along her half of her wardrobe. But for a pony like Babs, who could possibly have had a fraction of as many apparel items, it was strange she needed 10 large suitcases, even if she was temporarily moving in for a season or two. Plus, he wasn't sure she could safely carry it all in tiny apple carts he brought, assuming it would have been almost 4 bags.
That's what I said, but Mom and Dad insisted I need several coats because of how cold it can get around here,
replied Babs.
But Pollyville's almost exactly in the middle of Equestria, within South Carolina even,
pointed out Apple Bloom, gesturing to the tiny shaped coastside capital, just visible for the distant mountain range.
Plus, my Hampton wouldn't be known for super cold winters as well.
Yeah,
but according to some friends of my parents, the winters here are longer, allegedly, because the populace never gets winter wrap-up done on time. Is that true?
interjected Sleepbell.
Ever since how Twilight was appointed to manage your winter wrap-up, Fluffy's always been on time to start spring.
Yeah, we're all running late for getting y'all back to the farm. There's no way I can fit all this in the cart. It's too small! Apple Blue looked at the luggage, then the cart, luggage again, before she smiled.
I was like, I know how to do it.
13 or not a rope later, Applejack still couldn't believe how Apple Bloom secured all 10 pieces of luggage to a degree that could be carted to the farm safely.
Ah, much better, sighed the now clean Alicorn. Now, let's get to business.
She descended the familiar stairs of the library this time, wishing to give her wings a rest. Rainbow had drilled her hard in order to ensure the basis of flying were ingrained in her head. The point both of them had lost track of time. As a result, they still felt sore. The Twilight ignored the feeling, instead anticipating what she would learn momentarily. There, sitting next to Raspberry Bell, was an honest and celestial green phoenix. The princess could hardly wait to get started.
Spike!
She said, although attempting to get the attention of the phoenix and its owner in addition to her assistant.
Can you put out some tea?
Sure thing, Twilight, answered the dragon. Heliodor twittered slightly. Larry Raspberry that reading time was over.
Thanks, Healy.
She whispered to her pet before turning to Twilight.
I trust your highness is feeling better now. Please, call me Twilight. Honestly, I prefer to be seen just as a regular unicorn while in town. Okay, your magic, Twilight.
Responded the other unicorn, catching herself before she did the very thing she'd been asked not to do. Labrador Alicorn smiled. Besides, you're the one who truthfully has more honorability than me. It's no point. Not even Princess Celestia could claim to have a pet like yours.
Who, Heliodor? No. I'm sure other ponies have pet phoenixes too. It's just that meeting one who is willing to stay with you like a pet. So rare.
Twilight raised an eyebrow in confusion.
Other ponies?
Under natural circumstances, phoenixes can be domesticated if they decide to imprint on an individual they deem worthy of their company.
As it stands, I'm only aware of 3 phoenixes that have ever allowed themselves to be pets. Philomena, who was the pet of Princess Celestia, Heliodor, who is a phoenix, and a phoenix who Spike rescued about a year ago.
Yeah, Pee-wee's still was failing right now, but he still comes to visit sometimes, added Spike, who wanted over a tray supporting a tea kettle with 2 cups. Having been imprinted on by Pee-wee in return for having saved his egg, Spike was technically the only dragon who ever had a phoenix as a pet. But due to Spike also being a baby dragon with the maturity of a young adolescent pony, are you listening, Spike fans? You know who you are. Firesight had advised that letting Pee-wee be returned to his parents was to be accomplished with the help of Philomena. Twilight not literally let an unbroken house bird go with tendencies to fire inside her library had also been a factor. However, for whatever reason, the phoenix in the room suddenly looked depressed. Probably rasped and rubbed his back with his hoof. What's wrong? Asked shocked Twilight, simultaneously using her magic to levitate a tea kettle and fill the cups without having really thought about doing so.
Was it something I said? Well, Healy never knew his parents, actually,
explained Raspberry.
Bernie said that you mentioned that to her. Heliodor, that's his name, right? Was just a hassling when you first met him, but she didn't mention much else. But not know his parents?
Maybe his egg was stolen. Kind of like what happened with Pee-wee, suggested Spike.
Raspberry nodded. As far as I know, Heliodor's egg was stolen by diamond dogs. Probably because his egg must have looked like a precious stone unlike any other. What he has inside their caves, to which the dogs obviously didn't like, probably considered some kind of magic trick at their expense, proceeded to chase around the caves trying to kill him. At least that's the scene when I got there. Why were you at a Diamond Dog Cave entrance? Inquired Twilight. I'm sure many ponies have already told you. My magical talent is finding gems. Raspberry turned to her seat just slightly, to let the princess get a better view of her cutie mark. I hadn't actually known it was a Diamond Dog Cave at the time, especially since it had been described to me as an earth pony mine, complete with the wood support to expect. So I figured it wouldn't hurt if I just went in and took any gems that were left. You can imagine my surprise when all of a sudden I see a flying green and gold blob trying to outrun some very angry canines. Next thing I know, one of the lead dogs tripped and caused them to collapse on one another, allowing the cord to constantly land on my head and cling to my horn for dear life. I wasn't going to let the dogs get him, or me for that matter, so I yanked out one of the wooden supports as I ran out of the cave, so it collapsed to prevent the dogs from chasing us. It wasn't until I ran a good mile away that I finally stopped to catch my breath, realized the baby phoenix was still attached to my head, traumatized and half dead from exhaustion. I was in between towns at the time, so I didn't have much to provide for myself, but I did what I could for him. As you can tell, he fully recovered. I tried going around, seeing if I could find his parents, but I didn't find any phoenixes at all. And since the baby phoenix had only hatched inside the cave, he didn't know where his nest was either. He needed some point to look after him, though, and after I'd been traveling alone for so long, it was nice to have a companion. So I named him Heliodor, and he's been with me ever since. Raspberry did lean over to nuzzle her bird, was he regarded and kind. At that point, Twilight had already whipped out a notepad and quill. Ferris was jotting down notes, but she had a question or 10 ready once the story had ended. Fascinating. I didn't know diamond dogs would potentially steal phoenix eggs. Heliodor's eggs must have been really different from a normal phoenix egg, I guess. Although, he himself seems to be different from even normal phoenixes, as he can apparently stand on your horn. Wordlessly, Heliodor just launched himself from the table, flew a complete circle around the library before landing on Raz's horn. The unicorn, on the other hand, just looked right at Twilight the whole time, barely even seemed to react to the sudden landing that made on her horn. The princess was dumbstruck, the quill coming to a halt. Doesn't that hurt? What do you mean? Asked Raspberry. A bird of even his size should be pushing down your horn with enough force to be triggering pain receptors in your brain. Since upon his horn is a natural extension of the skull and brain in order to conduct magic. And have something like, well, Heliodor on your horn should be all right, be weighing your head down and making you scream in agony. Really? That's never happened with Healy. But then again, he's the only creature who's actually used my horn as a purse. If it's alright, could I even try to sit on my horn then?
I guess. All the confidence had been building up talking to a princess suddenly drained out of her. Twilight wanted to try having a Heliodor sit on her horn. After everything she just described, she glanced up at Heliodor, prompting both Unicorn and Phoenix to go into slight conversation, composed purely of pantomime gestures and expressions. Twilight recorded the entire thing in earnest. Finally, some sort of decision had been made. Alright, Healy says he'll try. Okay, how about just to simplify this? We put our horns up to each other so he can slowly walk into mine. If anything happens, he can just climb back on your horn. Okay, was all Beryl said. Maneuvering around the table, the Unicorn and Alicorn lowered their horns to allow the Phoenix to cross over. However, Twilight noted that Raspberry was trying very, very hard not to let their horn tips touch. It seemed odd. She soon figured out why when Heliodor, also nervous from what seemed like a needlessly complicated acrobatic maneuver, had one foot on each horn, but suddenly lost his balance in an attempt to regain it. As the horn touched only briefly. It was less than a second of contact, but Twilight instantly knew the Unicorn in front of her had been hiding something far bigger than the orbs of a green phoenix. Normally, when two ponies put their foreheads exertions tip to tip, their separate magic fields would interact with each other, in most cases allowing them to combine for whatever reason. However, when Twilight felt the presence of Raspberry's magic, there was something decidedly wrong about it. What that was, Twilight couldn't figure out before the magic fields separated. It felt both sickeningly familiar and totally unfamiliar at the same time. She didn't even pay attention to the Phoenix, who, at that point, had been trying to cross over and float onto her party's lantern and happened to be nearby, clearly dizzy from having nearly done the splits of two magic fields reacting to each other. Right now, she was more concerned with the Unicorn across from her. What are you hiding? Accused the princess, sitting into a ready stance so Raspberry turned out to be enemy of the crown. Look, Your Majesty, I can explain, please! Raspberry, on the other hand, was now definitely afraid. The very thing she hadn't wanted revealed was just been revealed by complete accident. And if Twilight already made that assumption, she was good as dead. You can explain? Alright. Then tell me what's wrong with your magic, because that's not normal magic I felt for touching your horn. Twilight charged up Aurora, ready to lay down to her if necessary. Yes, just give me a second. Don't hurt me, please. Raz was evidently now so scared she was having trouble breathing, gasping for air in between words. Twilight, against her better judgment, pared down her magic and lighted this. Either she was the dumbest assassin ever, or the Unicorn did have an honest explanation for why her magic felt different. Raspberry, take deep breaths, okay? I'm not going to hurt you. But would it be hard for you to tell me what's going on with your magic? You passed out from oxygen deprivation, right? Raz just died, but after a little more encouragement for Twilight, and the mirror doing calming breathing exercises in the way Princess Keen's attire. Feeling better? She asked when Raz finally regained some of her composure. Yeah. Can you tell me what's going on? Raspberry took a deep breath in preparation for what she was going to say. The details would need to match up to what she told Rarity and Sandalwood during that aromatherapy session. But after years of retelling the modified version of her past, there would be little deviancy, if any, from either time of having to retell the tale. Besides, it's pretty much the truth anyway, at least most of it. Please, promise me you won't freak out, okay? Pleaded Raspberry. Towards Twilight gave a stern, affirming nod. No other choice. Raspberry closed her eyes, brought up her own aura. Her horn became encased in a light blue essence. When Twilight's shock, it wasn't a smooth glow. Instead, it was more like a fog that bubbled around the horn, as it was dark magic. It looked less like the dark magic that was practically synonymous with King Sombra. Instead, more like a version of Sunset Simmer's magic, when the former student of Celestia had been turned into some kind of monster on the other side of the mirror, where everybody had hands. But despite Sunset's intentions at the time, especially the whole brainwashing school thing, whatever magic she had been using could be considered true dark magic, only being a result of Sunset's magic not being fully compatible with the element of magic, and a form that wasn't able to properly use the magic in the first place. What's wrong with your— Whoa! Twilight started to ask, but interacting with Heliodor so close, or landing on Raspberry's horn. It strangely didn't lose the unnerving fog around it, but the presence of the Phoenix was enough to get her to open her eyes again. Princess, I know what it looks like, but I swear to you, it isn't. The truth is, I don't have absolute control over my magic. Anything stronger than basic telekinesis or my gems finding spells is too much for me to handle. Even just showing it off like this takes lots of focus to keep it under control. And I don't think I need to go into detail what could happen should I lose that control. Twilight was silent as he digested this new information. The idea that a unicorn's aura could be affected by the amount of control it had over their magic was in line with what he had observed in various instances. When Trixie was under the influence of the Alicorn amulet, her aura had turned blood red, periodically manifested as sparks coming out of her eyes. Then, since its simmer, it wasn't out of question her magic had gone out of control from the aforementioned incident. Twilight herself had been increased in her magic aura when her magic quickly increased her ability to handle it during application tests to Celestia School. But in each case, there had been an outside acting agent or catalyst. The enchanted amulet, the element of magic, or Rainbow Dash's first sonic rainbow. But Raspberry didn't have any of those. Then Twilight recalled Rarity, and also mentioned Raspberry had a very dramatic following. Without a response from the princess, Raspberry powered down her aura and began to tell her story once more. I'm sure Rarity's already told you, but growing up wasn't easy for me. Being a unicorn in an entire town of earth ponies, I didn't know much about my bloodline, other than its earth pony all the way through. Even my father once said my mother's side claimed to have originated from the Crystal Empire. The Crystal Empire? Repeated Twilight, surprised. You have ancestry among the Crystal Ponies? Allegedly. Although it does sort of explain how my mane and tail are sort of different. Replied Raspberry, taking a lock from her mane or hoof and holding it up. Twilight watched closer, seeing that instead of a sharp difference between colors of the mare's hair, like with most ponies, Twilight included, the sky blue and purple instead had a gradient, not like crystal ponies between them. But from a distance, it looked like normal colors with a hard split between them. Popular belief has it that before Sombra made the Empire disappear, some crystal ponies managed to escape and fans with the populace of the rest of Equestria. Whether it's true that I have crystal pony blood in my veins or not is irrelevant. I was still born as the only unicorn in a town full of earth ponies. But that's impossible, responded Twilight. There isn't a single settlement in all of Equestria that doesn't have at least a few members of any given regular pony subspecies. Radsta shook her head sadly. Not a lonesome dove. Completely 100% earth pony population. Both when it was founded and most likely right now, and the town still remains. To my knowledge, I was the only non-earth pony to ever live there. In my short time as a resident, no pony trusted me being able to use my magic, much less try to teach me how to use it. My father especially hated my magic, always forced me to do things physically, and punished me severely whenever he caught me trying to use magic. It hurt, both because of having to do daily chores, demanded endurance I wasn't gifted with at birth, because sometimes he simply tried to break my horn off. He never succeeded. I'm fairly certain he's the reason why my magic aura is so different. Twilight raised a hoof in horror. Damage to a unicorn's horn during their childhood years, encouraging them to withhold their magic they would naturally try to discharge, explained why Raspberry's magic felt so wrong. Never been given a chance to fully develop. Additionally, her father tried to break off her horn multiple times during fillyhood, probably even early adolescence. Physical trauma would certainly have led permanent damage to the ability for her horn to conduct her magic. I'm sorry, apologized the still-shocked princess. I had no idea. Oddly, Raspberry smiled, if only briefly. It's all right. You're honestly the first pony who's been willing to listen to me about it. Every other time any pony has seen my magic, they immediately think the worst, and it never ends well for me. That's what happened when I dared use my magic again one day. Discovered my special talent in finding gems. Really, I had just been trying to pick them out of the ground with my telekinesis, so I could place the seeds. Dad was furious. His wife had died in childbirth only to give him a weak unicorn filly instead of a stronger son. The farm he had been stuck with couldn't grow crops because the soil was littered with almost worthless gemstones. To top it all off, his offspring was now even more of a reminder of everything that had gone wrong with his life. A few months later, I overheard him muttering how he was convinced I was in fact some sort of evil creature that kept bringing misfortune to him. It was his duty to kill me. I had no choice but to flee for my life. But since no pony lonesome dove was going to protect me, I was forced to jump a train with what little I was able to take with me. Ever since I've been going from town to town, Usually when I'm asking to find gems that sell at low prices, simply to keep myself afloat. I'm merely going on my way when someone here fairly gets the wrong idea about my magic. Sun is rated golden oaks for what seemed like forever. Twilight just looked at the unicorn in front of her. Now believing he was in fact far stronger than what she looked like she had gone through since a horrible upbringing. But her pet Heliodor was certainly part of that. While as far part of that pet, Spike was sort of the same thing to Twilight as Heliodor was to Raspberry. Both males were companions that both poets had known for the maturity of their lives. It was like times of great distress were the only ones that the counterpart mares could talk to. Maybe this was more to this point than what Twilight originally led to believe.
Hey, Raspberry, if it's alright, would you like to stay for dinner?
The address backpedaled in shock. Heliodor squawking in surprise, but a small smile came upon her face. Heliodor mildly added her response, the princess smiling.
Sure, why not?